In this episode of D&D Academy Monsters and God series, we find ourselves flying high above the material plane and into the elemental plane of air to take an intense look at the high-soaring Aarakocra. The Aarakocra are bird-like humanoid creatures that come from the elemental plane of air. But to truly understand the Aarakocra, or birdmen as they are often referred to, you have to understand the world from which they hail. Various planes of existence are realms of myth and mystery. The Aarakocra come from such a place. They're not simply other worlds, but rather they're other dimensions. The elemental plane of air is one such dimension in the many planes of the multiverse. But what is the elemental plane of air? The elemental plane of air is essentially a sky dimension, an open vast expanse with constant winds of varying strength. Scattered throughout are many land masses varying in size and shape, drifting aloft in the openness. They are a sad reminder of a time of great upheaval, of a great war, and failed invasion by the denizens of the elemental earth plane. These battles were so fierce and fought by such powerful beings that some of the great clouds in the sky fused with the magics used in the war against one another and have become solid surfaces strong enough to support towns and even castles. Although these floating masses of earth and cloud were forged in the fires of war, they now serve as a peaceful refuge and home for the creatures of the elemental air, such as the Aarakocra. This dimensional world, known as the elemental plane of air, is a complex web of air streams, currents, and winds called the labyrinth winds. As an Aarakocra, it is important to know this complex system of winds, as they can range from stiff breezes to howling gales that can rip a creature apart. Even the most skilled Aarakocra must navigate these currents carefully. As youths, they are taught to fly with the currents and never against them. Hidden amongst the labyrinth winds rests the fabled hidden realm known as Aarakocra, home of the Wind Duke and the Vati. Aarakocra serve as guardians of the realm of Aarakocra. Many have made a home here in this peaceful fabled vale. The Aarakocra range the howling gyre, which is an endless storm of mighty winds and lashing rains that surrounds the tranquil realm of Aarakocra. The Aarakocra warrior patrols the windy borders of its home against invaders from the elemental plane of earth, such as gargoyles, the Aarakocra's sworn enemy. There is much to unveil in the dimension of the elemental plane of air, but our focus today is the mighty Aarakocra. Now imagine, if you will, an endless expanse of eternal sky, a place of majestic perfection and beauty. Now imagine yourself soaring through the sky with the skills of the greatest eagles, flying free and unrestrained, locking your great wings in place and allowing yourself to glide amongst the thermals of the wind, changing direction at will, choosing to perform acrobatic moves with a single thought. Then suddenly you close your wings together and plummet at remarkable speeds down to the endless abyss of sky. The winds surges past your face and body, and then suddenly you extend your mighty wings to be lifted by the thermals once again and glide gracefully amongst the eternal sky. Aarakocra have a history shrouded in mystery and lure. Their creation is found in the ancient past and are one of the earliest races ever created. Aarakocra were created by one of the fabled creator races known as the Eri long ago, in a time known as the Days of Thunder. In the 5th edition Monsters Manual, what it tells us about the Aarakocra is very limited. But let's start there. It states that the Aarakocra are the enemy of the elemental evil. What that means is that they will fight or obstruct any evil creatures in all the elemental planes that threaten their home plane. This falls right in line with their natural alignment of neutral good, but in some cases, they can be turned to malign deeds through force, deceit, or manipulation. The Aarakocra are in service to the Wind Duke and the Vati of Aarakocra, and according to the Monsters Manual, their position is to scout the elemental planes for evil forces and take flight against them, and report back to the Wind Duke. Another service that the Aarakocra perform for the Wind Duke and the Vati is seekers of the fabled weapon known now as the Rod of Seven Parts. There was once a great war between the Vati and the evil elementals of the earth plane, and in the last effort to stop the impending doom of the Vati created a great weapon called the Rod of Law. This great weapon was used to end the war, but in its use, the rod shattered into 7 pieces across the multiverse. Now a select few Aarakocra warriors of Aqua are tasked with seeking signs throughout the multiverse for the shattered pieces and their locations, in order to rebuild what is now known as the Rod of 7 Parts and restore the powerful weapon to the Winduke and the Vati. A funny thing about Aarakocra is that they really don't understand the concept of political borders. They also don't understand property ownership. So, if an Aarakocra were to hunt your pig or eat your dog, it's not because they're trying to be mean or evil. They just can't distinguish the difference between domestic or wild animals. The value of gems and gold and other precious metals means little to the Aarakocra. You would have an easier time trying to convince them to help you with a full basket of fish than a full basket of gold and rubies. The Aarakocra are a very minimalistic race and believe that a creature should use what it needs and discard what is left to the wind for others to use. One of the coolest things that the manual says about the Aarakocra is that they can summon an air elemental. It takes 5 Aarakocra within 30 feet of each other to do an aerial dance and maintain a focused concentration while doing this ritual in the sky. When they are finished, an air elemental appears. It is friendly towards the Aarakocra and obeys their spoken command. Another cool fact is that when the air elemental returns to the elemental plane of air, any Aarakocra can return with him.